and solar MD, both HV and low voltage, BYD, both HV and low voltage. And lastly, we have SunGrow, the HV, which goes well with their SunGrow inverters. And then, sorry, I seem to be facing issues here. Okay. And then under management, we have Daniel as our MD. And then we have Helga, our head of finance and operation. And then Zanei, on project and marketing, Arno as head of project in CNI projects. And then we have Charmaine, Kim, Michaela, Tanya under supply chain and sales administration, and Hamu on accounting. And then we have and then on our sales, we have Leo and Jason heading the sales force up in Joburg. So they cover the inland regions. And we have Kyle in the coastal who also do the international sales. And then he works alongside Rita and Seth. And then under technical, we have Alton, myself, and Jama, who are based in Cape Town and responsible for technical support in the coastal region. And then we have Vessel that is based in Joburg, and we pretty much do the same, but towards the inland region. And then under our IBC Solar online portal, among the services that we do offer, we have after sales support where you can do your claim submission, customer feedback, and then product document. And then under the product document, you can get your price list, your product image and documents, your IBC and supplier logos. And then we also offer the technical services, the commission support and fault finding. We also do the designs, your SLD, your PV manager. And then lastly, on our IBC solar sales deal, we have a promotion. When you buy any mutual control product and you can get 5% off any commercial inverter over 25 kilowatt. Just a reminder that you should use the coupon code on your checkout. It's mcontrol. Further details, if you have any issues there, you can consult your technical sales manager. And then over to you, David.
Hi, everybody. So I'll take over. Let me just share my screen quickly. All right, thank you so much. So I'm Jason. I am in charge of pre-sales for GoodWe South Africa. Joining me today from GoodWe is David Havenga. He is our technical manager. He's been part of GoodWe in South Africa since we've joined South Africa, so he's been around a very long time. So if there are any questions or anything throughout the presentation, please just do send it in the comments, and David or myself will be able to jump in and just give you guys some guidance on those questions. My screen has just gone dead. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, so like Ponce said, we'll be going over the residential solutions that GoodWe has to offer today. I'll start off with just a brief introduction of what the company is, who we are, how we were founded, and where we are today, and then move on to the residential solutions that we have for you. Okay, so GoodWe is a world-leading PV inverter manufacturer and smart energy provider. We were founded in 2010. We are committed to being a comprehensive solution provider by offering an extensive product portfolio, which I'll show you today, obviously just focusing on our residential solutions, but we have got a lot more to offer as well. We are very determined to become a major driving force in the global energy transition, building a sustainable future for not only our children and their children, but for many generations thereafter. So we have been around a long time and we don't plan on going anywhere just yet. If we have a look at our GoodWe family, we have a team of over 5,000 employees across 20 different countries. We have got 150 plus overseas employees, and that number is just growing. I'm one of the newer members in South Africa. I joined about 7 months ago, and since then our team has grown even more. So we have got quite a nice base here locally already. To achieve any improvements and future developments for our products, we have got a large R&D staff team, which covers about 20% of our employee base. So we have about 1,000 plus members, and that is just to allow for constant development and engagement with each country that we supply to ensure that we have market relative products for any situation or circumstance that there might be in the countries that we support. So if we look at some of our GoodWe moments, like I said, we were established in 2010 and have only but grown exponentially since then. In 2014, our first hybrid ES inverter was launched. This is also the year that GoodWe entered the South African market. So like I said, we have been in South Africa for quite some time with quite a big market share from our inception when we launched our ES Unique, our ES series inverter. And we still have some of these first generation ES inverters running today. Quite keen to note, with these inverters, we were the first true hybrid single phase inverter that was ever brought into South Africa. So it just shows we have been around for quite some time. If we move on, in 2018, we established our headquarters in Germany, which now forms part of our EMEA region, with Europe being a major influence on all of GoodWe's products. It was obviously quite a big stepping stone. In 2022, we went through our rebranding campaign, where we revealed our new GoodWe logo and slogan. So the W you see now on all of our inverters was introduced in 2022. In Q1 this year, so earlier this year in March, we opened our Vietnam factory, so the first factory outside of China. And this is just to prove, or not just to prove, this is just to show that we are looking to expand internationally as well. Currently, we have got our head office, new headquarters opening that is happening currently. Our sales country manager, our sales manager and marketing manager are in China for the opening, alongside some of our key customers and that from South Africa. So we are currently launching our new headquarters building in Suzhou, China. If we look at some of our awards and accolades, most notably the TUV All Quality Matters Award, which we have won for 7 consecutive years. And then if we move on to 2022, we won the Wood Mackenzie Top 3 Storage Inverter Supplier Award as well. Just to note, the Bloomberg NEF Most Financially Stable Award, meaning that from a financial stability point of view, GoodWe checks that box as well. So our global presence is ever growing, with 11 branches globally and more than 27 sales and service centers around the globe, with 4 R&D centers with individual R&D members that travel around the world to get lifetime support and access to new developments as they happen in each country. So we have got some R&D staff members that have just recently left South Africa and gone back to China for a month or two. But we have got R&D staff members that are in and out of South Africa to help us with direct communication with our engineers and designers from all new products and further development for our local needs. So we have got people that are coming in and out of South Africa to assist us from head office directly, which is quite unique and nice for us to have that kind of support from our head office. We have got 3 production facilities currently, 2 being in China, and then the new one that was launched earlier this year in Vietnam. The production facility that we have got in Vietnam caters more towards our North American market and then reaches down into our South American market. So we are still breaching out internationally for more production centers that will come in the future. And then if we have a look at our overseas warehouses, we have got warehouse facilities in most of our major global markets. Here in South Africa, we have got our own RMA warehouse to serve our service center. Very important to note, GoodWe does uphold all of their warranties and all RMA cases internally. So we manage all of our RMA processes from start to finish, which we obviously do in conjunction with our distribution partners like IBC. But in essence, all of our RMA cases are handled by our internal team. So from our service desk through to our after sales and technicals, all done internally. Just some interesting information about our factories and production capacity. We have got enough production capacity to be able to produce 35 gigawatts worth of inverters and 2.1 gigawatt hours worth of battery capacity annually. Since our inception, we've produced a massive 71.2 gigawatts as of December 2023, within our range from 0.7 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts of inverters. So you'll see that we have got 30.4 gigawatt hours residential inverters, cumulative capacity. That number is still growing. We have now focused quite largely on the commercial and industrial side, as well as our utility scale. So those numbers are growing rapidly as well. So who are we at GoodWe? Like I said, we're not only an inverter manufacturer, but a full-on solution provider with a wide range of products for many different applications. So we do manufacture string inverters, on-grid, grid-tie inverters, residential from 0.7 microinverters through to 30 kilowatts. We have got CNI inverters from 25 to 125 kilowatts, and then the bigger utility scale PV plant type inverters that would run from 225 kilowatts up to 350 kilowatts. What we'll speak about more today is our energy storage inverters, where we have got single-phase hybrid inverters from 3 kilowatts all the way up to 12 with our new ES Unique inverter, and then from 10 kilowatts to 50 with the 3-phase storage inverters. On the monitoring side of things, we have got our very own smart energy management system, also known as SEMS. And then lastly, we have got lithium batteries from low voltage to high voltage, which would be a great fit, obviously, for our inverters. We have also got EV chargers that is potentially a growing market in South Africa, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that, as well as building integrated PV. So that is not to replace the current PV market, but it's more to go into newer developments or different types of structures or something else that a normal solar panel would not be able to do. So we have got lightweight, thin, sort of glue-on panels, as well as various different other building integrated PV options. So now you have to ask, why GoodWe? So it boils down to a few different things, but we do cater for all scenarios with market-relevant products, a strong feature set that I'll go through with you guys shortly. But in essence, the ES Unique was designed specifically for the South African market, and that's to combat our power outages. Used to be load shedding, now it's load reduction, or whatever else it is being labeled as. But for power outages, climate, maximize savings, many different reasons to look at our inverters. We at GoodWe are also in the top 3 brands internationally across all of the different markets. So on the CNI side, on the utility, and on residential markets, we are there within the top 3 brands internationally or globally. We have got a local dedicated RMA warehouse, so no stock ever needs to be sent all the way back to China to be replaced or checked on. It is all done locally and in a timeless manner. We have got local presence since 2024. So we have been around a very, very long time. Like I said, we were the first true residential hybrid inverters ever brought into South Africa. meaning that we have been here a long time and we're not going anywhere. Some of those inverters that were installed in 2014 are still running today. Competitive pricing. So alongside our inverters, we have got battery options available as well, where if you purchase a GoodWe inverter and pair it with a GoodWe battery, you automatically upgrade your warranty from 5 years standard to 10 years for both products. On top of that, if you reach out to IBC on the pricing of our inverters, I think you'll be quite surprised at the cost to the installer and effectively the end user for the premium inverters that we have to offer at GoodWe. We are extremely competitive in the market today when it comes to pricing without losing that premium brand that we uphold. Okay, so let's have a look at our residential energy storage hybrid inverters. We have got our ET15 to 30 kilowatt range, which are three-phase high voltage units that have been deployed massively through the years. This inverter has now been capacity has been increased to our new ET40 and 50 inverter. That falls more towards the CNI and larger residential market. But we will discuss that in a different webinar sometime in the future. We have also got our ETG2, which is a new lower capacity range for the ET series, ranging from 6 to 15 kilowatts, also three-phase. And then what we'll discuss today are the two inverters on the right, the ESG2 and the ES Unique, which is our single-phase low voltage ranges. They have been extremely popular in South Africa over the years, where we're currently installing between 200 and 400 of these devices monthly. This is from 3.6 kilowatts all the way through to 12 kilowatts between the two ranges. Like I said earlier, the series was further developed specifically for South Africa in the form of the ES Unique, which is to help with the bigger consuming households with the three different models. They've got the 8, 10, and 12 kilowatt units. Yeah, so I will focus today mainly on the ES series range, starting with the ESG2 and then moving on to the ES Unique. So here you can see the different inverter models. So we have got a 3.6 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt, and 6 kilowatt ESG2, and then the newer ES Unique, which is the 8, 10, and 12 kilowatt unit. If we look at the ES series key features, so most importantly, or one of the main features that we do is the MPPT oversizing or PV overloading. So the ESG2 supports a max of 1.5 PN PV overloadability. So what this means is on a 5 kilowatt inverter, you can have 1.5 times the amount of PV. So 7.5 kilowatts on a 5 kilowatt inverter. All of this is usable PV. So you could have 3 kilowatts going to your loads, an additional 2 kilowatts going to your critical loads, and 2.5 kilowatts to charge your batteries. You could have 5 kilowatts running to your loads and 2.5 kilowatts running to your batteries, or up to 5 running your battery, charging your batteries, and the additional running your loads. So it just depends on how that is set up. But you have got up to 1.5 times PN usable PV through your inverter. When we get to the ES Unique, which is the bigger range, the 8, 10, and 12, we allow for double the capacity. So on a 10 kilowatt inverter, you can have 20 kilowatts worth of PV available. So if you look on the left-hand side, we've got some other brands or different inverters that are not GoodWe, where you would have 20 kilowatts of PV connected and only 10 kilowatts could be usable, maybe 1.2 times PN or 1.5 on the bigger units. But in theory, you would have a loss of some of that PV capacity. On the GoodWe inverter, we maximize our PV usage. So you could have 20 kilowatts of PV on a 10 kilowatt inverter, having 10 kilowatts run to your grids and 10 kilowatts to charge your batteries. Depending on what your battery allowance is obviously how much PV would be able to be used to charge your battery. We're going to backup overloading, which is the next feature that the ES series has. So this is a general pass-through. So with the grid availability, you can have up to 10 kilowatts to run your loads. So 5 kilowatts from PV and 5 kilowatts from the grid to charge your loads. With the ES Unique, it supports a max of 16.5 kVA. That's from the 8 all the way through to the 12. It will allow for the 16.5 kVA output with grid availability. So this is standard grid pass-through. Where we are slightly different, or where we are very different, is that we allow this even without the grid availability. So if you've got enough PV and enough battery capacity, you can run up to 10 kVA to your loads through your inverter. So essentially, if you have enough DC power without the grid, you will be able to run up to 10 kilowatts through your 5 or 6 kilowatt inverter, and up to 16.5 on your ES Unique range, the 8, 10, and 12 kilowatt units. So this is quite nice to have, because during the day you'll be able to run a lot more than just what your initial inverter capacity is. So in 5 kilowatt unit, you may be able to run 7 or 8 kilowatts constantly throughout the day, provided you've got enough battery capacity and PV connected. This is where the PV overloading comes quite advantageous, because you can have 7.5 kilowatts worth of PV on your 5 kilowatt inverter and use all 7.5 kilowatts to run your loads. And if you've got additional battery capacity and you want to use your batteries during the day as well, you could add an additional 2.5 through that and get your 10 kilowatts. Okay, then we'll look at the generator and load control. So this does work slightly different between the ESG2 and the ES Unique. On the ESG2, we have got dry contacts that you can connect the generator relay to, and that would need to be connected through your grid port. And then when it comes to the smart load control, that will also be done through a dry contact on the inverter. However, on the ES Unique, we have got a dedicated port for the generator that can be used as a big load output as well. So if we look at the generator mode, you'll be able to connect a generator to your inverter regardless of the ESG2 or ES Unique. It's just the way it connects is slightly different, but you'd be able to change absolutely everything and set up everything you need to set up on the generator. I will go through the SolarGo settings shortly and show you a bit more about how this works. But just a key feature to note that we do have generator integration on our inverters as well. So on the ES Unique, that generator port can be used as a big load output as well. So essentially a secondary output on the inverter that we can also use. All right, then we look at parallel systems. I'm going to play a short video quickly just on how the parallel system works with the ES series. This video is specifically to the ESG2. However, the connections are the same between the two models. My apologies. I just realized that this sound is not playing. Give me 1 second. If someone can just put a thumbs up if you can hear the sound now, please.
All good.
Welcome to
Thank you.
GoodWe training series. Today we will take you through the installation and configuration of parallel inverter system of ESG2. Step 1. Remove the COM ports cover. Unscrew the 4 screw to take down the COM cover. Now you can see different communication ports for COM cable connections. Step 2. Connect the communication cable to the master inverter. Remove the small waterproof cable plugs one by one and keep them with you. Take down the cable nut and the waterproof plug. Insert the Ethernet cable with RJ45 modular plug into one of the holes on the waterproof plug. Insert the waterproof plug back into the COM port cover. Please make sure the RJ45 modular plug is inward to the COM ports. Plug the RJ45 modular plug into the EMS power port. Install the COM port cover by screwing down the 4 screws of the cover. Insert the rest small waterproof cable plug and nut back to prevent water and dust. Connect to the meter port using the included RJ45 network cable. Install the meter and then connect the other end of meter cable to meter. At last, install the CT. Step 3. Install EasyLink to the master inverter. Unplug the waterproof cover and plug in the EasyLink to the COM module port. Plug in the positive and negative DC cables to the DC connectors accordingly. Step 4. Connect the communication cable to the slave inverter. Now please repeat the steps of that for the master inverter. Insert the other RJ45 modular plug end of the communication cable into the slave inverter. Tighten the cable nut. If you need to connect 3 or more inverters, please repeat the above procedures to connect the third inverters to the second inverter. The EasyLink is only needed for the master inverter. The master inverter issues commands to the slave inverters via the communication cables. For more installation details and safety requirements, please refer to the Parallel Inverter System Solution User Manual on the official website. Step 5. Connect DC cables and then power on. Plug in the DC cables. Turn on the DC switch. Now you can power on the system and you can see the power LED indicator is on. The indicator of EasyLink light on and the EasyLink start to work. Step 6. Parallel inverter system configuration via SolarGo. Enter SolarGo and make sure you switch to local mode. Select a Bluetooth signal, which starts with SOLBLE and ends with the last 8 digital of the device SN. Go to More and then click Basic Setting. Enter the actual connected inverters in the system. Select Safety Code. Select Working Mode. Choose the corresponding batteries and pass the meter test accordingly. Now you can go to the home page and refresh the page to see the total number of parallel inverter and their status. That's all for the installation and configuration of parallel inverter system of ESG2. Thank you for watching. For more installation and configuration videos of GoodWe training series, please visit our GoodWe community and stay tuned to our official account.
Okay, so that is the parallel systems for the ESG2 and the ES Unique. So if we look at it here, again, the master and slave relationship with the smart communication dongle would be the EasyLink 3000, which is purchased separately. IBC does have stock of them, so if you are doing a parallel system, you will be able to purchase that through them. That is the only additional purchase that you need to make with regards to the inverters. We can have up to 3 of them connected for UPS level switching and up to 16 of them connected regardless of the ESG2 or ES Unique. There is no need to set which inverter is the slaves and which inverter is the master. The EasyLink gets connected into one of the inverters, and that one will, in theory, that one will become the master inverter. The rest of them will be slaves. If we look at the scenarios with the different batteries and battery options that you can connect to the parallel systems, you'll see here it does say no more than 3 parallel inverters in the system. This is for UPS level switching, so less than 10 milliseconds. For instant changeover, for 25 milliseconds or 50, depending on how many inverters you have connected, but that will be up to 16 inverters. So it does allow for both of these scenarios up to 16 inverters, but for UPS level switching, 3 or less. So we have got a scenario with parallel batteries. So that's when you've got a common battery bank where all of your batteries are connected to a bus bar and then connected to your inverters. So one of the benefits of this is obviously it's a lot easier for the installation. Just to bear in mind that all of your cable lengths need to be the same from battery to bus bar to inverter. On the right-hand side, we will have our non-parallel batteries. This is if you have got one inverter installed and in a year's time you want to add a second and then a third inverter, you can do this and just separate your battery banks. It is possible. One of the features that GoodWe does allow is that you can have different battery makes and models per inverter. So long as the capacities are the same, the inverters will run in parallel as well. So you could have a solar MD battery up top, and in the second inverter a BYD, and in the third inverter a GoodWe battery. So long as the capacities are the same, the paralleling will work. We do recommend the bus bar solution. It is obviously a lot easier for installation, it's a lot easier for communication, everything works a lot simpler. So if possible, if you are sizing the site and you have got the option to have a parallel system because of the customer's requirements, we do recommend obviously that you have a common battery bank for the low voltage system with a bus bar. All right, so then we'll look at the communication systems that we do with GoodWe. This is across the board, but for the ES series, this is how it will look. So in the bottom left corner, your local commissioning is via the SolarGo app that we saw in the video just now. And that will be via either Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. The ESG2 and the ES Unique has got integrated Bluetooth in them. So once you connect the module, you'll be able to connect via Bluetooth to the app and do all of your local on-site commissioning. The remote control in the bottom will be your remote control monitoring. That is to our SEMS portal, and that will be done via the communication modules that you have. So currently with the ESG2 and the ES Unique, the new communication module is a Wi-Fi LAN kit. So the Wi-Fi LAN kit is a built-in Wi-Fi dongle with LAN capabilities as well that connects to the inverter. Newly to that, we have just completed testing and launching of our 4G modules. So we have got 4G in areas where you might not have Wi-Fi capabilities, but you do want to do remote monitoring. We have got a 4G dongle as well that will work for our ES series inverters, and that will be on Telkom, MTN and Vodacom SIM cards. Should there be a requirement for any other additional ones, it can be done. Just reach out to me and we can get our R&D team to add those in as well. It's just a simple APN setting that needs to be included into the communication portal or platform on our side. So the Modbus control and external controllers can also be done. If there is any requirement to use a third-party controller or third-party monitoring tool, it can do an API request and give you that access as well, where you'll be able to get all of the information from the inverter directly to put into your own third-party applications. When it comes to the data that gets stored, this is obviously for our RMA purposes and for general information that might be needed. The data is stored for up to 7 days on the inverter in 1-minute intervals in case of a network breakdown. So should your inverter not connect to the network, it will store all of that information on the inverter for up to 7 days. After those 7 days, it will overlap itself, but keep all of that information on our server. So once you have got network availability again, that information does get stored onto our server in 5-year intervals, or up to 5 years or more. So for the first 5 years, or for the first 3 years, you might have all of that information in 1-minute intervals. There later, it will be maybe 5-minute intervals, and then up to 10 or 15-minute intervals if it's stored for longer than 5 years. So we do keep information, or do keep data for these inverters for a very long time on our backend servers. If we look at the SolarGo app, if you are connected to the inverter, it is a lifetime information on the SEMS portal. If you log on to SEMS and you are doing monitoring, it will be in 5-minute intervals. However, you can download the data on SEMS and it will give it to you in 1 or 2-minute intervals, depending on the model of the communication module. That can be updated to 1-minute intervals on all of our communication dongles nowadays. Okay, then let's have a look at the ESG2 inverter first, and then we'll move on to the ES Unique as well. So the ESG2 is slightly smaller than the ES Unique, not much smaller, but it is a little bit smaller than the ES Unique because it doesn't have its own smart fans. It is natural convection cooled, so it is a fanless design. We can UPS level parallel up to 3 units, and the easy commissioning is done on the SolarGo app. If we go into the parameters, you'll see on the battery input, it is a nominal battery voltage of 48 volts, so a low voltage lithium-ion battery is obviously required, with the maximum charge and discharge at 5 kilowatts and 5.3 on the 5 kilowatts ESG2. We already did mention the PV overloading or MPPT oversizing, where we can have 7.5 kilowatts of PV usable on the 5 kilowatts inverter. Just to note, our MPPT operating voltage range is extremely wide. So we do have our startup voltage at 58 volts, and we will be able to start producing DC power from 60 volts. So that's not obviously going to run any of your loads or anything like that, but it will be able to start charging your batteries from 60 volts. The nominal input voltage is 360 volts, with the maximum input current per MPPT at 16 amps. So to bear this in mind when you are doing your string allocations or strings that you need to design, we do need to try and keep as close to that nominal input voltage and current per MPPT as close as possible. You'll see that the max short circuit current per MPPT is 23 amps. So we do have a tolerance between 16 and 23 amps. Should your panels go slightly above 16 amps, it's not recommended, but it will work on the inverter. These inverters have also got 2 MPPTs, MPP trackers, so that helps with different roof orientations. You could run 2 different strings to maximize your PV production. Okay, if we look at our on-grid information, we do allow, like I mentioned earlier, 10 kilowatts from maximum apparent power from the utility grid of 10 kVA on our 5 and 6 kilowatt inverters. And that's when we've got grid availability, or without grid availability if you've got enough battery capacity and PV available. On the backup side, when there is backup only, we do allow, or we do have a maximum output apparent power of up to 10 kVA for 10 seconds. So that's for an inrush current. On the backup side, it will allow for 10 kVA for up to 10 seconds. That punishment that gets taken is not taken on the battery, so there's no harm to the battery. It gets done on the DC bus of the inverter itself. Okay, then if we have a look at the ES Unique, so the ES Unique has got a 240 amp battery current available, charge and discharge, with the CT directly connected. So there's no smart meter needed for the ES Unique when the inverter is connected up to 10 meters from the distribution board. A CT will be needed, but a smart meter is not. Should you need to install this device further away from your inverter, between 10 and 25 meters, a smart meter will be required. It is compatible with our new Lynx A batteries and many other batteries that I'll show you now. And then there is a dedicated generator connection. So one of the differences, or main differences, between the ESG2 and the ES Unique is that it has got a dedicated generator port. That dedicated generator port can be for generator in, as well as big load mode out. So that big load mode could be an additional connection with big loads, so loads that are not as essential, but you still want to have connected to your system under different circumstances or parameters you'd be able to set. On top of that, the ES Unique has got smart fans built in as well. Reason why they've got smart fans built in is because on a 12 kilowatt inverter, we can have up to 25 kilowatts worth of PV connected. So there's a lot more PV, a lot more heat gets generated in this inverter. So we just need something to cool it down. In saying that, the smart temperature controlled fans will only kick in if the internal temperature of the inverter reaches about 60 degrees Celsius, and will run for a few minutes or a few seconds to drop the temperature back down anywhere between 50 and 55 degrees Celsius. The fans will then turn off again. So it will control the temperature of the internals on this inverter while still using the natural convection cooling method as well. Okay, so if we look at the ES Unique's parameters, we look at the ES Unique's parameters, we will see that the maximum continuous discharge current is up to 240 amps on the 12 kilowatt unit and 264 amps at 10 minutes. This is obviously very much dependent on what your battery allowance is, but we do allow for this on the inverter side. So the max discharge power is up to 13.2 kilowatts on the 12 kilowatt unit. And then we do allow for double PV, usable PV on these inverters. So 1.5 times on the ESG2 and on the newer ES Unique up to 2 times PV overloading. So you'll notice on the 10 and 12 kilowatt units, we have got 2 strings per MPPT with 2 MPPTs per inverter. So essentially 4 strings available. Reason for this is because of the amount of PV you can have on these inverters. So 24 kilowatts on the 12 kilowatt unit. It's just to allow you to break your strings up to reach as close to that nominal input voltage or within the voltage range with the amount of panels that get connected. You'll see it is also still 16 amps per string, so 32 amps per MPPT. If we look at the on-grid information, all very much standard, with the addition of 16.5 kVA pass-through that is allowed on the 8, 10, and 12 kilowatt unit. Without grid availability, we'll be able to do that, provided you have enough PV and battery capacity as well. For the inrush currents, on the backup side, we will allow for 24 kilowatts for 10 seconds. And that's obviously on backup only. So at night, when there's no PV or grid availability, you can run up to 24 kilowatts for 10 seconds on a 12 kilowatt unit with a constant of 13.2 kilowatts. Yeah, then the AC data for the generator port. So this is for the ES Unique specifically. Rule of thumb is just to make sure that your inverter is large enough, your generator is large enough in capacity to run your load and extra to charge your batteries should it be required. AC power from the AC generator. AC power from the AC generator is the inverter's capacity, the max of 11 kVA for the 8 kilowatt unit and 12 kVA for 10 and 12 kilowatt units. Note this can be set via SolarGo app, so you can have a bigger generator connected and just set the input power limit. Just to note that these limit amounts that the inverters can handle, just note that these are the limit amounts that the inverter can handle. So the generator is too small or too big, it obviously just won't be as efficient. So it will work, just won't be as efficient. If there is anything that I have missed or anything that you'd like to go and have a look at, or with regards to the data sheets or anything else on these inverters, you can have a look on our website, so on GoodWe.com. We have got all of the data sheets, user manuals, and more information on these inverters should you require anything else on top of this. Alternatively, you can just contact me and I'll be able to assist you further as well. So if we look at the battery compatibility list that we have got, so for the ES Unique, we have got, well, for all of our inverters, we have got a type A and a type C rated compatibility. This doesn't affect the warranty in any way, shape, or form. It is just the way that the compatibility tests were done. So our type A is our international or global compatibilities, and then type C would be our local ones. So I'll show you all of those now. So this is just for the ES Unique, so our newer inverter, where we've got our new batteries that we've launched, our Lynx AG1 and Lynx AG3 batteries, and then most recently the LV 5.0 BYD battery has been completed with regards to compatibility. So if we just have a quick look at our Lynx AG3 battery, it is a 5 kilowatt hour low voltage battery, the 150 amp battery current. It's a 1.5C discharge and 1C charge battery that can parallel up to 30 modules, 150 kilowatt hours, with a 6,000 cycle lifespan. The Lynx AG1 battery is our 0.5C battery. So for people that don't need that rapid charge and discharge, we have got an alternative option with the Lynx AG1. Both of the batteries are rack mounted batteries that do have adaptions for a floor mount stack on top of each other, or wall mounted as well. So there are different bracket options for these three batteries as well. Three different battery options, three different battery bracket options for the two different batteries. Okay, then if we look at the ES series compatibility list, so this is for the ESG2, and some of these will move over to the ES Unique as well, with regards to our international or global battery compatibility brands. So to tell the difference, if you are commissioning a site and you're not sure if it is a type A or type C, the type C batteries you will set as default 100 amp hour on the SolarGo app, whereas all of the others will have their brand, series, and model they're available for you. Those are the type A's. Type C will be default, type A will be the physical brand and series or model available. Again, all of this information is on our website, so if you do want to see which batteries are compatible with regards to the type A, batteries, you can contact, or you can have a look on our website for the Type C or local battery brands that we have here. You can just get a hold of IBC themselves or me directly, and I'll be able to give you the list of batteries that are compatible with which inverter. All right, then we'll go quickly into the SolarGo commissioning. I think we still got time. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so with regards to the SolarGo commissioning, so this is across the board from our smaller inverters all the way through to our larger CNI inverters. All of this, the commissioning gets done via Bluetooth on an app, on your phone, on site while you're doing the installation. So the SolarGo app can be found on your Play Store, our store, or anywhere else. You can follow the QR codes below and you'll also be able to find it. Connecting to the inverter. So there are two different ways to connect to these inverters, either via the solar Wi-Fi or solar Bluetooth. So with regards to the Bluetooth, there is no password that needs to be connected. It is just the last 8 characters of the serial number of the inverter. And then on the Wi-Fi section, there's a password. It's a standard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 password. On the SolarGo app, before I continue, if you do want to do a demo mode or see how the app works, but you're not on site to commission one, you'll see in the top left corner of the screen, it says the word device list. If you open the app and you touch once and then hold on the word device list for 10 seconds, it will come up into a demo mode where you will then be able to put our password in, which is either 4 ones or GoodWe 2010. And then you'll be able to go into the demo mode, select the inverter you want to install, and then go through all of the settings. Should you want to explain something to another installer or to the end user or to whoever you need to show this to, you'll be able to run a full demo on the app without being on site physically connected to an inverter. Okay, so once you have connected to the inverter via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, you will see the home page with the different bottom menus, the overview, parameters, and then more or settings page. So on your home page, you will have your basic information for the inverter, the status of the battery, the working mode, backup is on or off, as well as the power limits, battery model, and different options. The right-hand side, you will have your parameters tab. It will have all of your more in-depth data for the inverter. Note this is all lifetime information. In the parameters, there's also your alarm tab. So your alarm tab will have your last 100 alarms. So any information that may be required when it comes to an RMA process or anything like that, if you want to see what happened last to your inverter or when the last alarm was, it is time-stamped as well. So you'll be able to see exactly what happened, when it happened, and what's going on your inverter. Okay, then if we go into the settings tab, there is communication settings right at the top. There's communication settings right at the top, and this is where you would connect your communication module or your inverter to the network so that it will be able to be monitored and seen on SEMS. So you go to Wi-Fi LAN and then put in the SSID and password for the Wi-Fi that you want to connect to. If you go one step down on the point 1, there's the 4G. In 4G, you will just select South Africa and then whichever SIM card is connected to your dongle. With regards to the 4G module, it uses less than 100 megabytes a month for the information that gets passed through to SIMs. Okay, then if we go into quick settings, once you go into quick settings, there will be an installer password or prompt. The installer password is GoodWe 2010 or lowercase. or 1111. That also works. It used to be 2 different passwords between the on-grid setup and the grid side setup and the hybrid setup. However, now they all work the same way, so the passwords are linked together. Once you've done that, select your country code, South Africa LV. Please select South Africa LV. This is extremely important because it does have all of the allowances and grid references that we do allow here in South Africa. Next, you'll select your battery if you have installed a battery, or no battery if you intend to run these inverters off as on-grid inverters, which is also possible. You do not need to connect a battery at first. Point 3, you'll then select battery model. So here you'll see the list of all the batteries that are available. If it is a GoodWe battery or a Pylon-Tech or a BYD or whichever battery is available, you'll select which battery you have installed. After you've clicked next, you'll go to then select your working mode. So we have got 4 modes: general, forced off-grid, backup, and economic mode. For any more information on which mode might be more necessary for your end user or for your customer, we have got a white paper on this. Alternatively, you can reach out to me and I'll send you the information on how all of these work modes work and which work mode might be best suited for the customer's needs. Once you've done that, your device will need to be restarted. You'll then restart the inverter, the lights will flick on and off, and you'll be able to continue with the installation. Okay, then if we go down into basic settings, we have got our SPD failure alarm flag, which is for lightning protection. I'm not sure if any of the inverters that are being brought in at the moment have got the SPD functionality available, but the option is there should they need it. Then we have got the auto battery wake up. This is obviously on certain batteries, not on all batteries. It just depends on which battery you're installing, on whether or not this function will be usable. But after it's turned on, when the battery is shut down due to under voltage, it can auto wake up battery if the battery port outputs about 60 volts. And then we'll look into the backup parameters now. Underneath that, we have got shadow scan. So this is for heavily shaded PV arrays. So what this does is it allows the MPPT to track or that maximum power point. What it will do is every 30 minutes, it will stop your production, retrack, find the maximum power point, and then rerun from there so that it stays within its tolerances. It's not really ideal to have this on just for extra morning and nighttime production when the sun is rising and setting, because it does shut down every 30 minutes for a minute or two. So the time that it was off will not be any benefit to you. This is mainly used for areas where you've got heavily shaded PV arrays or you've got large amounts of shading on some of your panels in your array. Lastly, at the bottom, the work in progress is our 3-phase parallel system settings. So in the future, we are working on having 3 single-phase inverters to run in 3-phase, but that has not been realized yet. We go into the backup setting. In basic settings, your supply AC power from the grid backup, the grid is off, that you'll want to keep on. And then the detection mode. So you can change your detection mode from UPS full wave to quarter wave or half wave detection. That is just your changeover speed. So from less than 10 milliseconds to 25 or 50 milliseconds. This is needed if you have got grid that stays on, but the stability is very bad. So it lowers or turns off and on. It turns off and on. The power stays on. However, the power dips and turns on and off. So the inverter might detect that the power has gone off and will automatically go into backup and then stop running from that. And then a second or two later, the grid will realize again, and it will switch over again from backup to grid. So by changing this from full wave detection to half wave or quarter wave, you'll be able to change the changeover speed depending on the grid stability. Then we have got our first backup start with battery only, that is for off-grid, and that you can turn on, which supports then the single battery to start the inverter from off-grid cold starting. We're right down to the bottom, the clear overload history. With regards to clear overload history, it's not that important at the moment with the ESG2 and ES Unique, as they do not overload that easily because of the capacities that it does. But what it does is the inverter will exponentially increase the time that it will take to restart itself every time that it does have an overload fault. So an overload fault will restart in 1 second, the next time 2 seconds, the next time 4 seconds, the next time 8 seconds, the next time 16 and 32, and it could go up to 2 or 3 hours depending on how bad the overloading is or how bad the end user is with regards to the setup of the inverter or the usage of the inverter. So you might have an inverter, an older inverter that is running, and every time it overloads, you've got to wait 3 or 4 hours for it to turn on. You can reset this clear overload history to reset the overload timer. It will go back down to 0 again. This is just for protection of the inverter itself for future use. Okay, then if we go into advanced settings, the dread or remote shutdown should always be turned off. When we go down to the backup N and PE relay switch, this will automatically be turned on when you select South Africa LV as the grid code, and that should never be turned off either. The export power limit and battery function I'll show you in the next slide. Right at the bottom, we've got the safety parameter settings, which is the advanced grid settings. So should you have a site where the grid voltage is either too high or too low, you can adjust slightly or other safety parameter settings in that grid settings to allow the inverter to work. It's obviously not recommended because the grid code allows for all the tolerances that our national grid is supposed to have. So it shouldn't be required to change any of these settings, but it is there if there is any really special requirement for it to be done. PV Connect mode, the last setting right at the bottom, is where you can set your PV allowances. So if you've got 2 strings that are parallel together with a combiner going into the first string of the MPPT, you will be able to set that up there, or however else the PV might be connected. We look at the power limit and battery function settings. So the export power limit setting, which you can set there. You can set it down to 0. You can also set a negative number there. So you could put negative 100 watts. That will just be to make sure that you are always pulling something from the grid rather than exporting even 30 or 40 watts. The external CT ratio is done automatically for every inverter, for every smart meter, except for our GM330 and GM3000C, where you will use external CTs. So that is only really required for our CNI or bigger inverters, 3-phase inverters. We look at battery functions. The SOC protection should always be turned on. And this is where we can now set our depth of discharge for on-grid and off-grid, as well as the backup SOC holding function. Right at the bottom, we can also set our immediate charging. So if you need to charge your batteries to whatever SOC rating or immediately and how much power, it can be set here. It is a once-off charge. So that once-off charge will be done. You'll go back into the settings again. Your parameters that you've set will still be there, but it will not execute that again unless you click start. So this is for a once-off use. If you are expecting a power outage or a scheduled planned power outage and your battery capacity is not high enough, you don't have to go and set all of your settings again. You can come into advanced settings, battery function, and set for an immediate charge to charge your battery up to a certain SOC. Okay, then if we go down into the port connection settings, we have got our generator control and load control. So on the generator control, it is completely customizable or usable to however it is. We can set prohibited working hours. So with the prohibited working hours, you might find that you're in a complex for whatever reason. They have got time settings that you're never allowed to run your generators or anything between X and Y times. You can set that there. You can also set your run times, rated power, as well as all of your voltages and frequencies. You can also have your delay time before loading set. So you want your generator to run for maybe 10 or 15 or 20 seconds to heat up and get to its full production before it starts actually producing or giving out to the inverter. So it's just obviously for stability. You might need that you might have a generator that needs to run for 20 or 30 seconds before it needs to start producing. So we have got that function from 10 up to 300 seconds that it can be preheated before the generator starts pulling. You can also have your generator charge your batteries, and that is obviously with an on and off switch that you can come on, set it with your maximum charging power, your SOC for start charging and stop charging. So it'll obviously only start when you set it to this amount and stop when it gets to that amount. So you can use your generator to charge your batteries or run your loads, depending on what your requirement is or the size of your generator. We move on to load control. So the load control is quite a nice feature to have. On the ES Unique, you could have it connected directly to that generator port if you're not using a generator, and use it as the big load port, and you'd be able to use your load control alternatively with the dry contact on the ESG2. So what this means is you can have additional settings done for your non-essential essential loads in theory. So if you've got some loads you want to run when your battery SOC is between 160%, you'll run X, Y, and Z, and from 60% to 30% you only want to run your lights and your internet, you can have that setting here. So your off-grid battery protection value is the amount that interface or control part will turn off the load. You can also have time mode settings, so you could have it run so that this part of my inverter or this port on my inverter will only run between 9 o'clock in the morning and 11 o'clock in the morning, or from 9 o'clock in the evening to 10 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock at night to run your generator or to run your geyser or whatever else you may need to run. So it is completely customizable again to you, depending on what your circumstances are or what your customer's circumstances are. And before I move on to the firmware information, right at the bottom of the screen, you'll see it also says app version. That will be the version of the SolarGo app, and you'll be able to look for updates and that on the app itself to update the app from there as well. So if there are any updates with regards to the app version, there will be a little red dot that will tell you that the app is available or the update is available. So we're looking now at the firmware updates or via Bluetooth updating on the SolarGo app. So again, if there is any updates to either the communication module or the ARM or DSP, where it says firmware information, next to that arrow, there will be a little red dot to tell you that there is an update available. So when we get to the two different versions of firmware that the inverter has, it is the ARM firmware version and the DSP firmware version. The ARM firmware version is your brain or communication part of the firmware. The DSP is the control boards and the actual switching that gets done. It is extremely important that we update the ARM firmware first and then the DSP, And then lower down, we have also got the communication module firmware version, should there be any updates on that. So if you're using one of the newer model Easy Links, before we couldn't update it via Bluetooth, it now can also be done. The Wi-Fi LAN kits and Wi-Fi boxes can also be updated on the SolarGo app. So it does take a few minutes for this to complete. With regards to the ARM firmware, it does go a lot quicker than the DSP because it is just a communication firmware that needs to be done. To note though, that if the ARM firmware is too new, if the DSP firmware is too old, the firmware might not communicate with each other. So it is extremely important that the ARM firmware gets updated first, because it will be able to communicate with any DSP version. Whereas if the DSP version is much newer than the ARM, you might not be able to have that communication anymore. So once a upgrade is available, it will ask you to upgrade. It's quite important to make sure that you do not turn the inverter off at any time during this upgrade, because you could essentially brick the inverter, especially when it comes to the DSP or control board controlling firmware that needs to be updated. So if that happens, the inverter will essentially brick itself if you turn the inverter off or restart the inverter while the update is happening. So you'll see on the screen here, it will ask you to remind you, it will give you a reminder, make sure that there is normal power supply to the inverter. So make sure you've got some battery capacity available, and the battery is connected to the inverter and your inverter won't go off. You'll click confirm, the progress graph bar will go on, it will start upgrading. It will then tell you the upgrade is successful. Please return to the home page to reconnect. That means that the file that you've transferred has gone to the inverter. It still then needs to be unpacked and installed on the inverter itself. So on the screen, it will tell you on the next slide, it will tell you, please wait 5 to 10 minutes or until you see all the lights flashing on the inverter. Easiest way to make sure or to see that the inverter is completed is by trying to reconnect to it on SolarGo. It won't allow you to connect to the inverter if it is busy with an installation of the firmware. So just to make sure that it is completed successfully, you'll just go and try and log on to the SolarGo app itself, and it will give you an indication of whether the update is complete or not. If you go into firmware upgrade in the top right corner, you'll see it says upgrade record. That will tell you if it has been successful or not either. It will also give you the current version of the firmware. Okay, so that is the SolarGo app set up for the inverter. We are almost done. There's a few more slides that I'm going to go through, and then we'll be done. So for now, we're going to just look quickly at the SEMS Plus application. So this is a new mobile app that we have launched, which will eventually supersede and replace the original SEMS app. The online portal that you're using has not changed. That won't change. It is a web version, so there will be changes on it, but the actual information or the actual version of the web browser won't change. It will just modify slightly to catch up to the SEMS Plus app, whereas the SEMS Plus app itself is completely new, and it is now available on our store and Android Play Store as well. So I'm going to just play a short video just to introduce you to the product, and then or to the application, and then we'll move on to the next one.
SEMS Plus is a user-friendly smart energy management system app, which offers functions such as PV system monitoring, plant device management, troubleshooting alarms and notifications, and more. You can monitor the overall PV system, but also check the operating performance of each power plant and control them remotely. You can easily see the status of each PV plant via visual charts and reports showing how much energy has been generated, stored, consumed, or exported. In addition, SAM's Plus app offers the possibility to check and control remotely the individual inverters. The remote control feature allows you to upgrade firmware for the inverters. With SAM's Plus app, you can stay up to date with the dynamic electricity prices. And you can easily check the status of the PV system with visual charts and reports showing how much energy has been generated, stored, consumed or exported by the PV plants, but also how much revenue was generated by the PV system. SAM's Plus app offers additional features such as product updates and latest news from the community. More features coming soon.
Okay, so that is our just a quick look at our SAM's Plus application. But I do suggest all of you download the new app and you can have a look and see how it works, the new look and feel of it, and then let us know if there's anything else you may need assistance with. Yeah, so I'm going to just go through quickly the ticket loading and RMA process. It's just a quick look at how it works, what happens when something goes wrong, if you need to log a ticket, and the full process of the RMA side of things as well. Yeah, so we do have a list of contact information, following options available to accommodate the person making contact. They can give us a call, send us a WhatsApp message, send us an email, or go through our online support page. We have got quite a lot of agents available, depending on whichever form of contact you're using, making it quick, easy, and user-friendly for either yourself or the installer, or for the end user, depending on who is logging this ticket. Okay, so we'll go through these contact methods and guide you on how each one works as well. Just to note, our support office hours are from 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. If there is any requirement when you're going to site on a Saturday, for example, please do reach out to us. I'm sure we'll be able to make a plan if we need to for any specific reason. Okay, so first up, I'll explain how the ticket system works through our online web page, and here you'll be able to also track and keep up to date with all of your tickets, which consists of all our feedback and statuses of the tickets. So if you go to our website, en.goodwe.com, which is where you'll be able to find all our solutions and products as well. The quickest way to find our online support portal is to obviously go through this way. So first you'll hover your mouse over the support and services tab, and then click on the online support page as well. You'll then be redirected to our support page that you'll bookmark for future use if it's needed. Here you'll click on sign in. Even if you don't have an account, it's where you'll be able to create one. So here you can either log in if you already have an account, or click sign up if you have a new account. It's also important to note that get a password. If you've previously submitted any ticket request from an email address, the system is automatically created an account for you. So you simply click get a password and follow the prompts. You'll then receive an email with steps to follow, and you'll be able to log in from there as well. So once you've logged into your account, you'll have the following options. One, submit a request, where you'll click here for a new request. There will be a whole lot of details that you need to fill in and then submit. Our support team will then receive this query, get in touch, and get you sorted out. On the online support platform, we'll also be able to view the statuses and manage the current and historical tickets. If you're part of a larger company with several service members, let us know so we can set up an organization for you. So we can set up an organizational request. If you're a company that has got multiple people in a help desk or something like that, it can be arranged as well. All tickets and cases will be shown under organization requests. anyone and everyone under your organization can view each other's tickets. This helps keeping them up to date, as well as assistance within your team. So if someone isn't available, but there's a query, someone will be able to jump in and assist as well. Under the status tab on the right-hand side, there will be a few different options. So open is obviously pending a reply from the GoodWe team, which means that we will get back in contact with you very shortly. Then there's awaiting your reply, which means we're eagerly waiting for your feedback from this case. So we have given you some information and just need some feedback from you. Or solved, which means that the case is closed and everything is complete as well. Okay, then if you look at under the requests I'm CC'd on is where you can view tickets from your fellow team members where they've CC'd you in the ticket, where you can take notes and view updates. If you then go into my requests, you'll view and manage all the tickets submitted by you directly. And should you be waiting any feedback from us, the best is to go to our online portal, view any changes in the tickets or status updates. Often replies by email may go to your spam box or could be missed. So just to note that if you go into status and it says awaiting your reply, just to check and see where that email might be. Right, then obviously if we haven't got any feedback from you, we cannot keep the ticket open forever. But our service team will do everything they can. If your number is connected to it, they'll send you an email, they'll send a follow-up email, they'll try and get in contact with you. They are very eager to try and help you, and they want to get your ticket resolved. No one wants to keep an open ticket. Obviously, it never helps having unresolved issues with any customer. So we will try our absolute best to make sure that we get in contact with the customer and not just close it because it just says because within 24 hours the ticket will be closed. We will try our utmost best to try and get a hold of anybody. If it falls over a weekend or over a public holiday or something like that, we will obviously make our utmost efforts to try and get a hold of you before we just close the ticket. Okay, then secondly, we have our option to use WhatsApp. So the WhatsApp line, this is obviously the most recommended for when you're on site or need on-site support, because photos and videos as well as communication is quite quick and convenient between the requester and the agent. Your number will then be linked to your account once you have submitted all the information, but I'll show you that now. But all other necessary information and testing can also be sent here. So should there be an RMA required, all the information for the RMA is already with the agent, and so it doesn't have to go back to the office to email or log a ticket, making it a lot easier for the installer who spends less time on site. The end user has less time, downtime on his system as well. So to submit a ticket via WhatsApp, just save the contact number, send a hello message or greeting message, and they'll guide you to assist you as well. So the first step of this is via like a chat bot, and that's just to get your information. Once your information is given, it will then be sent to a real person, and they'll be able to help you directly with whatever you need. So you'll enter your requested details, which is obviously your email address, device serial number, explanation of what the issue may be, and then the ticket is created. A GoodWe support technician will be in contact with you to assist you through the rest of the process. Again, to view and manage any of this information, we'll be able to do online afterwards. It will be on the ticket portal where you'll be able to see all of this information as well. All right, then we'll move on to the RMA process itself. So you've logged the tickets, we've done all the testing, we've done everything we need to do. What is the next step? So this is a clear schematic of the RMA process. So the inquiry is made by the customer at the top left. Our agents will then do some remote troubleshooting. Most cases are resolved through this process, but should the agent not resolve the case, it is then escalated to our second level support, who also process information and data for all RMA possibilities. Once this is established and the troubleshooting does not resolve the issue, RMA documents is provided. After receiving this info, shipments and replacements of the units is processed within 2 to 5 days. Sometimes this RMA document isn't sent out because we've already received all the information via the troubleshooting side of things, and there might just be a message that gets sent to say, hi, the RMA process is being completed now. Your shipment will be done within 2 to 5 days. The product is then replaced by the installer. It is recommended to inform the agent in the ticket when this will be done, so we can arrange and have all the details ready for the following step. So what is quite important with regards to even the troubleshooting side of things, and when we do this replacement, is let us know when you're going to site to do the further testing or troubleshooting, because then we'll be able to be available at that exact time with one of our senior guys, and you don't need to wait for that. We can schedule an appointment or something like that, and your guy can go to site, we can install it, can go to site, or you going to site, and we can have someone available from GoodWe to assist you right there and then. All right, then if we move down to step 5, we've got the collection that is arranged by the agent on the faulty unit. Very important to note that this needs to be done within 15 days from the receival of the replacement device. And then just the formalities get done, and inspection by our team is done once we've received the inverter. And if the actual fault testing is done and it is exactly as we expected from the troubleshooting, then the case will be closed. Confirmation will be provided, and if there are any settling costs in that, it will obviously be handled within the warranty or with the customer about the actual issue. So here you'll find what information and pictures we require for any RMA case. So it's just important to note that if you do go to site, you will only need to do this once. Try and record as much information as you can, because you are on site then and there. Get as much information as you can. Enough is never, too much is never a problem, I should say. So if you give us an excessive amount of information, it's a lot more important to make sure you give us all of that information rather than just giving us one photo and assuming it's going to be fine. We don't want to inconvenience the end user. We don't want to inconvenience the installer. We don't want to inconvenience anyone. We want to get the issue resolved as soon as possible. So if we can get as much information as possible, it obviously makes our lives and everyone else's lives a lot easier, and essentially gets the end user back up and running as soon as possible. So we do need to record any of the above information should there be any problems in site and believe the device may be faulty. If you have a video or photos, tests listed here, 95% of the cases immediately process the RMA request. So it'll go a lot quicker if we have all of this information that is required. These tests are quite important because they do play a big role in our system operation. It influences system performances and can cause many failures. So in order to validate any RMA process request, include as much information as possible on the RMA request document. All right, then lastly, this is our GoodWe Plus. It is an online training site that we have available for any installers and distributors that have got a SEMS organization code. So you can go through any of this for our free trainings. So on our online training platform, we have multiple modules that you can select, ranging from our residential single-phase PV inverters all the way through to monitoring devices and storage systems. So once you click on the link, you'll fill out all the information and then get ready to start learning. On the front page, you'll see all of the courses that you are quote-unquote enrolled into, along with another tab of courses that you have already completed. Just to note, if there are any updates or upgrades to any of these training schedules, it will move then from completed to enrolled again and just tell you you've done 16 out of 17 courses completed, and there's an additional one for you to do. So it's nice to see what you have completed, if there is anything you want to keep more on track on, or if there's any new updates or anything like that that may be needed. So once you've clicked on a course and you've started it, you'll see there's a list of videos that you need to watch and get through all the information. This is sequential training, so you have to watch the first video, complete the test, move on to the next video, and so on and so on and so on. With regards to like the first point, company GoodWe company introduction. You will do that for the first one you do for residential one-phase PV inverters when you get your monitoring platforms or something like that, and it's got that exact same training session, it will already be completed for you. So there's no duplications of you having to redo exactly the same thing over and over again. If you've done smart meter training on the single phase ESG2 and you move on to the next one and it is the same smart meter, you won't have to do that training again either. So after all of this, you will complete a small quiz at the end to verify the study material and then just complete the course. So if anyone does wish to enroll, please do reach out to me. I can send you the link. Alternatively, you can start. You can have a look on the training and start learning more about what GoodWe does have to offer. All right, so that's it from my side. I'm done. Thank you very much for all of your time. I'm not sure if there's anything, David, you want to maybe mention that I might have missed. Alternatively, we can hand back to Jose and Zane.
No, nothing. All good from my side. I think there was just one little mistake on the slide with regards to the ES Unique. The ES Unique 8 kilowatt does maximum of 16 kilowatts on backup, but the 12 does 24 on backup as well. It's double on the ES Uniques, so the 10 will do 20 kilowatts.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Jose, Zane, then we are done on our side. If there's anything else you want to just add, then yeah. Going to just stop sharing quickly.
Okay. I've been monitoring the chats and we don't have any question. So thanks, Justin and David. I think this marks the end of our webinar. And thank you to everyone for joining our technical product training. We hope it was informative. Yes, and then I think we learned a lot. So thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too.